Town Council will meet tomorrow night. We'll tell you what's on the agenda. Massachusetts students will be taking a combination of PARCC and MCAS tests next year. And a new restaurant will be coming to the Barnstable Municipal Airport. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, November 18th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mantle. Barnstable Town Council will meet this Thursday. This will be the first meeting for newly sworn-in Precinct 1 Councilor John Flores. Prior to the orders of the day, Cape Light Compact Administrator Maggie Downey will give a presentation, and the Charter Review Committee and the Parking Committee will both give reports. Council is expected to vote on the fiscal 2016 tax levy allocation. New business includes a $60,000 grant acceptance from the Attorney General's office and a $115,000 grant for the Barnstable Senior Services Division. Town Council meets at 7 Thursday night in the Town Hall hearing room. By spring 2017, schools across Massachusetts will be using a new hybrid standardized test to assess student performance. The State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education voted Tuesday to accept Education Commissioner Mitchell Chester's recommendation to create a new student assessment program that is a hybrid of the MCAS and PARCC tests. The board voted 8-3 to approve the new test. The new system will incorporate new testing items developed specifically for Massachusetts students. A popular purveyor of pies plans to peddle to pilots and passengers. The Centerville Pie Company will take over the cafe at Barnstable Municipal Airport with a full-service grill, seating, and walk-up service area. Airport Commissioner Michael Dunning talked about the plan during this week's Airport Commission meeting.
Then we had a meeting with Laurie Bowen and Kristen Broadley, representing the Centerville Pie Company, our favorite new tenant coming on board, something we all have looked forward to for a long time. And we had a lengthy discussion with respect to the background of the company, which is pretty well known, and its ties to capabilities, an organization that supports people with disabilities. And it was very interesting. It was suggested that they're going to start off with a small menu for breakfast and lunch. Preliminary suggested hours 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and hours will be adjusted depending on response. And that's pretty much it. And, as I said, they employ over 50 disabled adults by partnering with capabilities, and it's so we really were very happy to approve proposed lease to the full commission here today on that.
Centerville Pie will begin making renovations to the space in January and hopes to open sometime next spring. Well, Town Council is expected to vote this week on that fiscal 2016 tax levy. Channel 18's Len Gobeil gets more details from Finance Director Mark Milne.
Every year at this time, and I'm not sure why, and I don't understand it, maybe you can help us, we have to go to the Town Council to talk about the allocation of tax levies. What is that all about, please?
Sure. Every year we have options to shift the tax levy between classes of taxpayers and within classes of taxpayers. And there are 3 tax levy shifting options available to the council for which they can decide upon how, if at all, they want to shift a portion of the tax levy from that one class to another class, or within taxpayers, between taxpayers within certain classes. So every year we have to go and have them vote on these tax levy shifting options before we set the tax rate and the final bills go out.
In my opinion, it would be kind of the opposite if I were in charge, and it would be we want to do that only if we want to change it, so let's just leave it the way it is, but we still have to go and vote every year.
Right, that's right, correct.
Okay.
So yeah, it's state law requires us to ask the council every year if they want to do any of these 3 options. It's part of the tax rate setting process. You have to have your legislative body make these decisions, and it could be just a real quick and easy, as we used to do, is no. We're not going to shift any of it. We're not going to use any of these tools. But now one of those tools we have been using for about 10 years, and that is called the residential exemption.
And well, I got two questions I want to ask you, and let me start with the one that's on my mind at this moment, and that is, and you kind of took the question away from me, and that is, why is it that some years it's so contentious, and this year it doesn't appear to be contentious?
With the residential exemption?
Yes.
Well, I think the residential exemption is a very progressive tax, and by its nature, being such a progressive tax, it shifts a lot of the tax levy burden from people who have whose primary residence are here in town to second homeowners, people who don't live here in town. This is not their primary residence. But it also shifts tax levy taxes to people who do have a primary home here in town. However, they're at the higher assessed value, and so you're taking millions of dollars in taxes and shifting it from this group of residential taxpayers to another group of residential taxpayers, and sometimes that can get controversial.
Sure. And so what we're saying is, or what the state government is saying is, you have some people who may not be able to afford paying the taxes, and you have some people who live in higher priced homes. They can afford it, so let's make them pay more.
That's the theory. That's the tax policy theory. That's why the state provides this option to local communities to consider adopting. It's used predominantly in seasonal type communities like the ones on Cape Cod, where you have a large percentage of your residential property taxpayers being second homeowners, and the theory being that, well, if people can afford a second home,
right, then
they can afford the additional taxes. And so they provide this tax levy option to shift more taxes to that group of taxpayers. And it was something that came up about 10 years ago as this community was advocating for more state assistance in the form of Chapter 70 assistance for education, and we have made that fight for 25 years now, ever since education reform was adopted. And we were told time and time again by state officials that don't come to us and look to us to solve all of your problems, and that the first thing you should do is look at your taxpayers. You have a high percentage of your taxpayers being second homeowners. We gave you a tool, this residential exemption. Adopt that. If you want to lessen the burden on your primary homeowners, adopt a residential exemption and shift some of the taxes to the second homeowners. And so the council did that. And not just for that reason, because the state said they should do it, but at that point in time when they adopted it, they felt it was good tax policy.
Sure. When I was on the town council too, I think that there were people who were saying just that. And what is the percentage today, 2015, of residential and non-residential property owners here in the town? Is it still 50-50, or is it
It's about 55-45. 55% of our residential properties are primary residents, and about 45% are second homeowners.
Right. And so the 45% are going to be asked by the town council again on Thursday night if they want to have to pay more. They're not going to be asked, they're just going to do it.
Yeah, the council will decide whether or not to continue that, because to change that, to all of a sudden not adopt a 20% residential exemption would shift a significant amount of the tax levy back to primary homeowners, and those homeowners would see significant tax bill increases.
Sure.
And so if we ever wanted to get off of a 20% residential exemption and go back in the other direction, we would have to do it in a smart way, perhaps reduce that percentage by 1 or 2% a year, and then gradually work our way back from 20% down to some other number. But that's a decision that the council will have to make and weigh based on the feedback that they get from their constituents, and we'll see where that goes tomorrow night.
Be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will talk with Town Council President Jessica Rapp-Corsetti. We'll talk with State Representative Randy Hunt. Plus, we'll also have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mann.